Here's the truth. Most studios don't really grow because of ads or cold calls. Yes, ads are great. We've talked about ads a lot in the marketing section. So review that if you haven't watched and listened to the marketing piece. But what we're going to talk about today is how business grows because of relationships. Think about just as a human, not as a studio owner, but just as a person. Like a referral from someone trusted, is 10x stronger than any ad. As a person, you much rather go to a dentist that some of your family and friends referred you to versus just seeing an ad which looks nice. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode in the podcast studio owner community. Today, I want to talk about one of the most underrated growth strategies for podcast studio owners, and that's a very simple thing: networking and partnerships. Yeah, it sounds simple, but there's a lot behind successful networking and partnerships. So if sales is about building your pipeline, networking and partnerships are about extending your playing field. So your line of sight and your playing field might be this big. When you network and build partnerships, your whole playing field expands big time. Right connections can open doors you didn't even know existed. For us at Podster, more of these connections initially came through word of mouth, people walking into the studio, hosts bring guests, guests become your next client. So the field expanded, but we weren't that proactive about it. When we started being proactive, the idea of expanding the playing field made a lot more sense. So why networking matters? Here's the truth. Most studios don't really grow because of ads or cold calls. Yes, ads are great. We've talked about ads a lot in the marketing section. So review that if you haven't watched and listened to the marketing piece. But what we're going to talk about today is how business grows because of relationships. Think about just as a human, not as a studio owner, but just as a person. Like a referral from someone trusted, is 10x stronger than any ad. As a person, you much rather go to a dentist that some of your family and friends referred you to versus just seeing an ad which looks nice. Again, ads are great, but referrals are bringing in strong results. Partnerships with co-working spaces, agencies, or university can bring you steady, repeatable clients. So you need to figure out who are these influential parties in your city and your neighborhood, and based on the audience you're looking for, and then go after them. Networking with, other studio owners and networking with agencies and talking to agency partners. I was the first one that was always, oh my God, agencies are competitors. They are anyway doing this work. I'm not sure how we're going to work with them. But honestly, agencies as partners and collaborators worked out really well for Podster. Now, they are in their swim lanes. We are in our swim lane. We work well together. Think of like frenemies. We work together. It's like, Salesforce and Microsoft or Amazon and Google, and they all play together in certain fields, but they are competitors in another. So you need to figure out who are these partners that you want to focus on that can give you extra business. Now, networking for us is really one of the essential tools how we expand. It matters because it creates leverage. Instead of chasing one client at a time, you're creating streams of clients through people and organizations that already have their trust. At the end, who are these types of partners you're looking for? You probably have a few in mind, but let me break this down in the kinds of partnerships that work well for specifically podcast studios. Local businesses and co-working spaces. Partner with a co-working space to offer member discounts, recording sessions. You can run maybe an event, recorded event, or a live podcast at their own premise. You can find ways how a referral from them gives them extra recording hours in your studio, so you can be a bit of a barter. You can figure out what you want to do with them, but there can be a steady flow of clients that are too small for you to focus on, but they are already their tenants. They themselves look good for adding value to their members and a discount, and you gain exposure to dozens of potential clients that you wouldn't otherwise, because you need to cold call them or you need to target them with ads. As I mentioned earlier, agencies and consultants focusing on marketing and PR and branding agencies, they often need podcast production for their clients, but they don't want to build studios themselves. They have freelancers on call, they work with random different parties, and if you position yourself as a go-to partner for them, you become their execution engine. We now worked with lots of large agency brands because large agency brands don't have everything in-house. They tend to outsource work and overcharge their clients. So what you can do is position yourselves in that value chain, and what we discussed recently in the Podstra Diaries, where Vuk mentioned that a lot of the clients that came through agencies effectively dropped the agency because of the work that your studio, our studio, can provide on their own. Now, the agency obviously works on either a higher value or higher up the value chain. They offer things like social media marketing, or they offer distribution and promotional services. So if they do offer a lot more, then it makes sense for them to be a wrapper around your service. However, if they offer the same thing and they're just passing the invoice, I bet you're going to get that client very soon, because clients are going to look at this and say, why don't I just go directly to the studio? Next ones are professional associations. Guys like Association of Professional Speakers, Toastmasters in many cities, training companies that often want podcast-style content, or just piece to camera, one person talking with 2 different or 3 different camera angles. They're all really good partners because they need your services. They also want to offer discounts, and they are fine to offer preferred place to record if you give them something for their members. Again, they look good, you get more leads and more clients. These are all really well oiled flywheels. Lastly, media event companies, agencies that run events. These are really big for a few reasons. Like, not only that you can go ahead and run a pop-up studio at an event or do something bigger if with an event organizer, but you can also tap into an event organizer when there's a convention in town. There are a few cities in the world, and pretty much any city has lots of conventions and conferences, but if you are in a city which is very busy with these congresses and conventions, I bet you can tap into event organizers to help them add value to the people that are coming to town, and offer your studio as a really good place for them to record, but also for event organizers themselves, because what you do is help them to extend the life of their conferences by recording some content on-site or off-site that can help them run for months and weeks with content that was produced either at the conference or people recorded at the studio in a way of a barter partnership with them. So that's a very simple way how you can tap into a massive, hundreds of people, thousands of people which are coming to the convention, depends on your city or town. And of course, other service providers which offer some studio services. If there is an audio studio and they don't have video, we often do that. We refer people that want to record audio only. We send them to an audio studio because our studio is full and people don't want to pay for video recording services if they just need audio. Essentially, if you find a way to partner with other studios who are not specialized and focused on podcasting, you can get more business like that. So Uber point is look for opportunities in your city and try to run through these 4 categories of types of partners that I mentioned, and maybe you'll identify a few in your city. You can also research a bit by doing some GPT research or your own, and find suitable partners you can reach out to. You can use promo codes which are easily accessible. In Podyx, you can use them in any other way to make sure you measure the impact of these partnerships. Affiliates, you want to make sure that you know how many bookings came through a different partner and then offer them a kickback or a barter. What we often do is, like, for many referrals we offer some studio time for free, and that helps the flywheel going. So going back to how to network effectively, because networking is essential for you to meet these partners and new clients. Networking doesn't really mean collecting business cards or just spamming randomly LinkedIn. It's about building these genuine relationships that you can then use to funnel more clients into your business or add more value to these potential clients, which can end up being corporate clients. What we discussed earlier in the sales process, you can nurture them up to become your big clients, but it starts with building a genuine relationship. So here's a few practical tips that you can apply. Show up consistently. Don't be a one and done transactional. People don't like transactional sellers. They look like they're just in it for reeling people into the studio and then forget about them. Simple things like knowing their name or, going back to them. And that's a part of sales as well. If you go back to your client regularly, if you meet them at meetups or you attend some of the, communities that are really important to you, you will nurture these relationships more effectively. If you have a LinkedIn group, attend to the LinkedIn group, online meetups, show up, find time for that. I know that, I read recently a nice joke, like a founder's or a operator's time is 90% divided, 90% on sales, 90% on biz dev, 90% on running the studio, 90% on taking care of the facilities, 90% on. So I think, yes, there's no time, but if this is important to you, if you want to grow your studio between you, your co-founders, or some of your employees, you can run effective networking approaches regardless of how little time you have. One appearance in a random event won't change the perception people have on your business, but repeated presence builds recognition. If you can become a speaker or an expert or an authority in a certain field, people will invite you to do sessions, to do speeches, because you've built a business, you know things that other people don't. You can then use that to show up at events, either as a speaker or as a guest, and then share your experience. People will love it because people need studios for recording and people want to hear from you. So what you do is you slowly build the brand in your city. Always lead with value. Instead of asking, hey, can I get clients from you or can you refer me somewhere? Flip it around and be like, how can I support your business? Can we partner? Can I do something for you? So that in turn, that generosity almost always comes back. I'll tell you one, it's not a secret, people know this, but when you do something for someone else, most people do, some don't, but most people feel the need to return that because that's just a normal human trait. So what that means is that if you can focus on the value you can give, you will most certainly, in most cases, get value back. Build personal brand, because personal brand really means a lot. Share your content online. Studios which are doing well and they are successful, they lead with online content. They lead on their social media. They're very vocal and loud, and they are building a brand around the clients they serve. Again, it's not about you and you and you. Look at how great we are. It's about how are you helping others. And if you can do that, it will just amplify massively. People trust and remember more easily when they see your face, your voice, when they see your studios, when they see other people using your studios. So leverage that effectively, and that's going to bring up trust and bring up credibility of your studio. You will get invited for events, and then you will build your authority. Have a partner pipeline. Now, this one is really like, have a partner pipeline the same way you have your sales pipeline. Track your partnerships. Who have you been in touch with? Who have you been scheduled to have a follow-up call? Who have you ran events together with? Like, partnership nurturing and management takes effort equally as much as sales. So you want to have the next step in your collaboration partnership with your partners and your networking circles, your communities. So every quarter, have a pipeline of things you're doing with your partners. What we do is every month, regularly, we have one or a few things that need to happen with specific partners and our close networks. And that way, the network is staying close to us. We're constantly delivering value, and they keep us on top of their minds because we always have something going on with them. When we run events, we have a few seats dedicated for these partners. When they run events, they invite us. You can't always go and attend these things, but you'll have time every now and then to attend, or you can send someone else, and they will that way always have you on the top of their minds. So not all partnerships are firing up at the same time. Some are like dormant, and then suddenly they pick up and they fire up and you get a lot of leads. Some partnerships are running steady over time. So partnerships are about you always staying warm. They fade if you don't nurture them. So you really just need to sometimes send a simple message, share an article, or attempt to do something together. Even just an attempt to partner on something gives you some time in front of them and talking to them versus being completely silent. So with this idea of partnerships and networking, you almost need to adapt that partnership mindset. So what is a partnership mindset? It's a shift that makes networking work. Don't think of it transactionally. Think of it as an ecosystem. If a network is something that expands your footprint, partnerships keep that footprint vibrant and alive. It keeps the virus humming all the time. Because a network without relevance and without any action taken will fade, and you don't have a network. The fact that they're in your LinkedIn feed or the fact that you have them connected on Facebook doesn't really mean anything. You need to do something about it. So you need to make sure that you always have this very vibrant partner network so your studio doesn't sit alone. It sits inside a web of creators, businesses, agencies, and platforms. And the stronger your connections to all these are, the more business you're going to get. Good partnership is not just they bring you clients. It's about bringing knowledge, credibility, emotional support. So all of that comes when you're a part of the stronger network. Now, this might sound like, wow, how to get there. It's very simple. Pipeline of partners, networking efforts. You need to do small little things to expand this. And if you've done something every week and expanded your network of partners and done something with them, I guarantee your footprint will be bigger. You'll have more leads. And if you track them properly, those leads will keep bringing you more business, which is what you want at the end. But don't approach it transactionally. The transactional sales is something that you do with ads or managing leads that come through the ads. What you want to do is being strategic about this, and networking and partnership is very strategic, and it can bring your studio at the top of the most relevant spaces and services in your town. So recapping, networking creates leverage that ads and cold calls will never be able to do. The best partnerships are always those that have a need for your space, those that either have tenants or members that want to use your space, and there's always a two-way partnership that can work. So look for co-working spaces, agencies, event companies, member clubs. These are all really good for you. Research, it takes you 10 minutes to find out who these are in your city. Focus on showing up and add value. Remember, network without context, without a partnership, specific thing that you've done with them is not going to work because it's transactional. And always think long-term. You're not just building clients, you're building an ecosystem around your studio. If you lean into the partnership, you'll get more back. And the more you lean in, the more relevant you become and the more you can grow your business. Add marketing, add ads, add everything else on top in your sales process, and you will skyrocket. So thanks for tuning in. I hope this was useful and see you in the next episode.